ask you, because again, I'm just processing your personal journey, but now connecting holistically again into your academic experience. What were some of the academic challenges that even at early stage you faced during your either elementary, middle school, you brought up, high school also? What are some of the obstacles that you found back then?
Well, that's really a great question, because when we left Texas, theoretically, my parents thought that I was at the top of my class. They thought I was doing very well. First grade, second grade, maybe it was first grade, very well. They got good marks from the teachers. They thought I was doing well. We go to another state and they have different standards. Their standards were a lot higher than the standards I was underneath working in Texas. And so when we went to the school and I was finishing up the first year, first grade there, they called my mother and they said, hey, your son cannot go to second grade. He doesn't have the skills and the equipping of information that he needs to have to go to second grade. He's going to have to repeat first grade again, which is a shock. It was a shock to us. And of course, I was so little, I didn't understand what was going on. And so my mother, who was persistent, said, well, what does he need to do to go to second grade? And they said, oh, he has to have a whole year of first grade. He doesn't learn his phonics. He doesn't know his numbers. I mean, they made a list of all kinds of things. And she said, well, give it to us. Give us the list of things he needs to learn. Give us the books that he should have studied in first grade. And we're going to come back before second grade starts, and you test him and see if he can go to second grade. And so for that, seemed like a whole summer to me in summer school, 2 hours in the morning. We would study, and she would grill me over these. She's just a high school graduate. She would grill me over history and math and numbers and alphabet and how to read. My reading was terrible. And then we take a break for lunch, and then another 2 hours. All the other kids were out playing. Our friends and neighbors were out playing. Can you come and play? And I couldn't play because I was having to do school. And so when it come to the end of the summer, I took the test, and they said, Miss Reyes, we think your son could go to third grade.
Wow.
So she says, no, I just want him to be where he's supposed to be. So I was able to enter into second grade at that point. But it was such a foundational piece of work. And so what I would lift up for you, brother, is to say, we need to recognize the importance of parents and their involvement in the education of their children. None of that would have happened if my mother would have just said, well, okay, just go take first grade again. But she says, no, you should be in second grade. Let's, we're gonna sacrifice the summer. We're not gonna go anywhere. We're not gonna watch TV. We're not gonna play. We're gonna do school. And it was sacrificial for her. I don't think I was the easiest student for her. I mean, I remember her crying because I wasn't getting it. I wasn't getting it.
Are you the firstborn in the family?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. That definitely, okay. That's wonderful.
Makes sense. So, but again, what a mom can do, what a father can do. And so our home became a classroom. And wow, shouldn't it always be a classroom? Praise the Lord for that. So I went on did really well in elementary school. I got into middle school, 7th or 8th grade, and I started to have trouble with math. And one of the deacons of the church, his name is Sam Edwards, good friend of my dad. They were deacons together. He said, come on over. I'll see what I can do to help your son with his education. And so I went, and my dad, who's very stern, very authoritative, he just pulled me over in front of Brother Sam Edwards, and he said, whatever this man says, you do it. He says, am I clear? I said, yes, sir, you're clear. So Sam said, let's go outside. Let's go talk outside in the backyard. And he had a brick home. I had never been in a brick home before. I thought that was kind of novel. What do you have to do to get a brick home? And so we went to the back, and he goes, I'm going to ask you one question. And if you tell me the truth, your grades in math are going to skyrocket if you just tell me the truth.
Wow.
And I said, wow, this guy must be he's genius. So I said, okay. And I remember he was a math teacher, himself. So I said, what's the question? He said, what's her name? I said, who? The teacher? He says, no, the girl you're trying to impress in your math class. I said, oh man, how did you know? He goes, look, I'm a math teacher. Us math teachers, we meet in the break room, we share stories. And this week we've been talking about you. And I said, oh my goodness. And so he says, he goes, second question, where do you sit? I said, well, I sit in the back. He goes, not tomorrow. This was a Wednesday night. He said, not tomorrow. I said, what do you mean? He goes, tomorrow you're going to sit in the front. I said, oh, all those seats are taken. He goes, no, you remember, I'm a math teacher. We talk to math teachers, and there's a seat reserved for you tomorrow in the front. I said, man, I don't have a chance to misbehave. Then he said, from now on, every once in a while, I'm going to pull you aside. I'm going to ask you to tell me what you've been learning in math to make sure that you're paying attention. And your teacher's going to also tell me how you're doing in math. And so here was this Baptist layman deacon who invested in my life that I might not fail math, that I might be successful in math. Well, Sam Edwards is now in his late 80s. When I got married, I took my wife to meet him and his wife in California. When I had my daughter, took her when she was old enough to California to meet him. We named one of our adopted sons after him. He's in the family, And by the way, that math teacher, that was his wife. So I talk to them 3 times a year. So all that to say is, when you invest in the life of a Hispanic family, you don't get to go away. There's no escape. We graft you into our family because you bless us with this kind of educational help. And that's why helping Hispanic families is so important, whether it's a Hispanic helping Hispanics or English-speaking Anglo helping Hispanics. We've got to help our people.
And part of the help that you're describing is the help that allows us, or allows the student or the child to enter into the proper system so they can flourish. Because that's what you describe. You're describing systems, from a parental system, from a church system, relational system. Here you have your dad approaching the deacon and say, hey, whatever he says goes. Yes. And he had the system to navigate and take you to what you needed to go. So our conversation is based primarily, again, with the understanding of those systems that hopefully through education we're able to encounter, to be placed in a system that allows us to flourish and succeed. Again,
just one note, brother.
Sure.
Speaking of systems, my dad, I think he went to 6th grade or 7th grade, so he didn't know the system. And I think it was humbling for him to go to an Anglo deacon of the church, friend, saying, my son's having trouble. We don't like to talk about having troubles, but I think they made a commitment to whatever we have to do so our son can succeed, so he can go forward and be better than we are, and to serve the Lord and learn what he's supposed to learn. We'll do it. And I think that's a humility that my parents passed on to us, and it's sacrificial, but they weren't concerned with how they look. They were concerned with, how was I going to do academically? What could I learn academically that would help me serve the Lord? And so they took that step, and they were vulnerable. They took a honest challenge to be able to talk to somebody and say, we're having trouble. Can you help our son?
Which in this case, you reminded me of 2 things. Number one is that your parents model that challenges become opportunities versus obstacles.
Yes.
And secondly, it seems to me that church as a whole should be the place, hopefully is the place for anybody who is watching, who is connected to the podcast, is a place where you can, in a safe, non-threatened way, you can become vulnerable and really leverage those relationships. Because again, your dad, you're right, as man, and even the reality of the potential differences between Anglo culture, Hispanic culture, those things, they became opportunities for him to get the traction that he needed to find the help that he needed as a parent to bring you into this conversation.